So picture one of your family members missing, whether it's your brother, sister, mom, or dad. For many of us, it can be hard to picture one of our loved ones gone because they're part of our family, but even though they can be irritating, you're still going to miss them at one point. The reason I'm telling you to picture them missing is because abortion tears families apart. There's three main reasons why abortion is wrong. First of all, it's killing a human being, which is a child. Second, there are many people who want to have kids but cannot have kids. And lastly, abortion does not solve the woman's problem. Life begins at the moment of conception, and Dr. Alfred Bongiorino Dr. Alfred Bongiorino, a former professor of pediatrics and obstetrics at the University of Pennsylvania, said, I submit that life is present at any stage, from conception to adulthood, and any termination at any point at any point constitutes the termination of a human life. It is something like that. Sorry, I kind of forgot it. In the movie October Baby, I don't know if many of you have seen that movie. I don't remember the name of the nurse, but she said she was an ex-abortion nurse. She quit after that time. She said, I saw him there. I saw him laying there with his arm gone, completely torn off by the failed attempt. I saw him shaking in pain. Sorry, I had it memorized. It was a really good way the way she said it. She said, he was so, there we go. She says, he was so tiny, he was less than a pound. He was damaged. His arm was missing, completely gone, torn off by the failed attempt. I saw him shaking. I saw the pain. I saw no tissue. I saw the face of a child. So many of ex-abortion nurses who quit say their testimony because they realized that every time the doctor or someone in the abortion clinic told them that it was just a blob of tissue, after they kept performing them, at one point they realized that it was not just a blob of tissue. So that proves the point of life begins at the moment of conception. Many women want to have children but cannot. 6% of females, according to the University of Colorado, 6% of women want to have kids but cannot after 1 year of having unprotected sex. No, about 6% of married women 15 to 44 years of age in the United States are unable to get pregnant after 1 year of unprotected sex. Also, about 12% of women 15 to 44 years of age in the United States have difficulty getting pregnant or carrying a pregnancy to terms. This one's according to the University of Colorado, 55% of women. Okay, sorry, this one is for my last topic. And lastly, abortion does not help the woman at all. Abortion does not help the female. First of all, many people say women should have the right to have an abortion when it comes to rape, but having an abortion does not unrape a female. It adds more pain not only to her but to the father as well. 51.6% of men regret pushing the female to get an abortion. I just remembered This one other quote by Cristiano Ronaldo's mom. She said she wanted to abort Cristiano Ronaldo, but it was a failed attempt. And Cristiano Ronaldo said she said he has only joked about it once, but he doesn't talk about it too often because he told his mom, "You wanted to abort me, but now I'm the one pulling the purse strings in the house." So like there's no benefit in having an abortion. And Christina Kesley, I forgot how to pronounce her name. She was conceived in rape, and she said, "When you make the rape perception, that's like saying to me that I deserve the death penalty for the crimes of my father. According to the United States Constitution, he didn't even deserve the death penalty. There's no death penalty for rapists, even for child molesters. They say that that's cruel and unusual punishment." And according to the University of Colorado, 55% of women expressed guilt, 44% complained of nervous disorders, and 36% had experienced sleep disorders. 31% had regrets after eight weeks after having their abortions. So after having an abortion, it adds more pain to them. To conclude this speech, I want to leave you with this quote by Dr. Anthony Levatino, an obstetrician gynecologist who performed over 1,200 abortions. He said, "One day, after completing one of those abortions, I looked at the remains of a preborn child whose life I had ended. All I could see was someone's son or daughter. I came to realize that killing a baby at any stage of pregnancy for any reason is wrong. I want you to know today, no matter where you are at or what you've done, you can change. Make a decision to protect the preborn."
All right, Daniela, what did you think?
I thought you did a good job. I thought it was a really good speech. You had your points. I thought you did great. Supporting evidence, like your quotes, are really good. I mean, aside from the fact that they're a little hard to remember, but I mean, you're pretty good in delivering them too. I liked your statistics towards the end. I thought that your speech was overall very good. The only problem was just a little bit of the delivery, just a little bit, but it's understandable. And I like how you approached the topic with the language that you used, and you kind of set the tone that it was going to be more of a serious matter. So, yeah, overall very good.
All right. Yeah, I think the visualization that you have as the attention device is okay, but I don't know that it works as well at identifying your topic and setting us up for the emotional point that you're trying to make as it could. And maybe that's just because it needs to be practiced a little bit more. I'm not sure that it's an imperfect example, but I know that it didn't have as strong an emotional impact as I think you wanted it to have. You set up your purpose statement very clearly. You've got a preview of what the supporting structure is, so that's easy to follow in the speech. Sometimes your transitions between those points are non-existent. It just seems like, boom, we're in the next point, and I wasn't even sure that we were done with the previous point, and on the second point, for example, you go through it so quickly, I'm not even sure what you get out of that particular point. It feels like it's there, but there's not much that you do with it or say anything about it. The first point, I think, is where a lot of your emotional issue is. You've got negative visualizations with the stories of the nurses who have gone through this process and had reactions to these sorts of things. You make a reference to a movie that probably I don't know that anybody will have seen. It sounds like it's a documentary movie about abortion, so there's probably good information in it, but I think you need to give us a little bit of context on that. You did cite some sources on that first point, and I thought that that was pretty effective. And like I said, the description that you had was also effective. You had a little bit of trouble getting through that, and you said you practiced it, you said you had it. It was funny that you pulled out your notes for something else later on, and I just thought, well, why didn't you pull out your notes in that situation? I think if you're struggling, having them available, it's probably better to go that way than to just stand there and kind of stammer through it and hope that it gets to you. I think you need a prompt in that situation. All right, so that wouldn't have been a problem. Like I said, I had a problem with the second point because it just kind of shows up and then disappears. You don't do anything with it. You had some nice statistical information on that point, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to get out of that statistical information. So that felt a little bit problematic. And again, the transition to the third point, it just shows up. I think you need a little bit more explanation. And you get the rape issue confused in a couple of places. I'm not exactly sure if Ronaldo's mom was pregnant as a result of rape, but that's what it sounds like you're saying here. And I'm not sure that that's the case. If it is the case, then that's a pretty dramatic example that illustrates your point. And I think it might be helpful to maybe save that example for the end of that particular point. Although, again, there are some things about the way it's presented that I think are problematic. The idea that Ronaldo lords it over his mother, now he's the one with the purse strings. I think that would be the kind of thing where she says, yeah, why didn't I do this before? Because that's kind of a bitchy thing to say. I don't know Ronaldo, so I assume he's a soccer guy, right? Okay, all right. So, like I said, I think you've got a good example here. I don't know that fits with the other points on this particular issue, but I thought that you had a reasonable point that you were making there. And then the issue of what the negative consequences to women would be, I think that's a point that could be developed a little bit better, but you do have some information on that. So I thought you did a pretty good job trying to cite some information in the presentation. There are a couple of good places where there's some emotional appeal that's being presented. Your presentation is tough because I can see you're trying to do this without being dependent on the notes, but you needed a little bit more practice. And when once you got back on track, you were doing a better job. All right, thank you.